This is the second unit in the data flow for S4HANA series. I'm starting here where I ended the previous session, the introductory session, which is an overview of the general reference diagram that I described in detail in that first session. This session will now talk about a particular process scenario, and specifically it's the SAP Best Practice 1G2 process with a label Basic Warehouse Outbound Processing to Customer. The idea behind this is the process of issuing stock from our inventory to a sales order and fulfilling that obligation under the sales order. This process has a number of steps. I've abstracted a set of steps to make it a bit easier to follow. In some cases I've gone into a further level of detail than is explained in the process flows, but that's deliberate to help illustrate the process. The first step is to correct master data, and obviously that results in transactions being written to the database. I'm not representing those here. Second step is that the sales order would have been created. That would have been on receipt of a sales order from a customer, and we would have entered that into our system, recording the obligation to fulfill that delivery. What happens as a consequence of that is that the sales order is written into the appropriate document tables within SAP, the header, line item, and if there are a schedule of deliveries, then those are written too. And that records the status of that sales order at that moment in time, i.e. unfulfilled. When it comes to the moment of the goods issue, so we have prepared and are ready to issue the items to the sales order in preparation for delivery, then a goods issue event occurs, and that's represented, as you can see here, under the inventory management module. As a consequence of the goods issue posting occurring and being recorded, while the system then reduces the unrestricted stock value, the appropriate storage location and plant, and then assigns that stock to the sales order, and that happens through the material document, which is tracking the actual quantity changes. Those then occur as part of the material transaction log, and the individual goods issue transaction with all of its ordered trail is then available in the material transaction log. Subsequently, at the same time as it happens, the value is also posted, and that value then, according to the rules of the configuration settings, posts into the appropriate GL accounts, both debits and the credits, and that happens under the accounts receivable functionality within financial accounting, that subledger, and those postings are written to the database. In addition, the controlling records are treated appropriately, and they too are then written to the database. Note that these all post into the Universal Journal under SAP S4HANA. There aren't separate tables for the different subledgers. Obviously this has a huge benefit in terms of simplification, but also from the benefit of efficiency. There is a single table, and there's no periodic postings needed to keep tables aligned. At the same time, artificially is a separate step in this demonstration, but at the same time, the records for profitability analysis are posted, and where there is augmentation required, that happens at that stage, i.e. different attributes added or looked up from elsewhere in the system to ensure that we can slice and dice across the Universal Journal from a profitability analysis point of view, also referred to margin analysis. Reporting can happen at any level. It can happen internally within the embedded analytics component of S4HANA, or it can happen via the external SAP Analytics Cloud solution. And the final step, which would happen obviously at a subsequent and against a longer periodic cycle, would be planning using those inputs of the reality that has occurred as the inputs into a forecasting or budgeting process, applying the rules for forecasting and budgeting assumptions that are considered relevant, and then the outcome of that process is written back into a finance planning log, thereby allowing us to compare the actuals against the forecast. And as we proceed through a period, then obviously we have visibility of our progress towards those targets available to us within the single solution, and in real time and aligned to the actual activities that are taking place in the front office activities. That ends this unit, and I'll be discussing another example in the next unit.